Today I'm going to demonstrate on how to trace a face in Photoshop. I'm going to make a file, new A4, and I put the resolution lower, 150. And then find the face that you like, put it on the layer, drag it, and then put the opacity lower because it will be easier for us to trace it. And then I lock it. Then I make a new layer. I rename it eyeball because we're going to start with the eyeball. And we're going to make black and white first. Use the brush, make the opacity lower, and then add some black color on the eyeball. And then I'm going to use a tool called smudge. It's the one with the finger. And then I put the strength a bit lower, and then I try to fill the color. So basically the smudge tool is like using your finger. So use the brush and then add the smudge to drag the lines all over the eyeball. So the longer lines that you have to take, that it means the strength of the smudge will be higher as well. So if the lines is shorter, then the strength will be lower as well. And then using a brush again, just black and white, fill the details of the eyeball. And then using a smaller amount of smudge tools to make the lines of the eyeball. And then if you think you make it too bold, you can always erase a little bit with the soft eraser. So after you make the eyelids, you can also make the eyelashes using a small brush for the smudge. And make sure the strength is lower because for the hairlines of the lashes, it's quite small and also short. So the length and the strength of the smudge tool shouldn't be too high. And then do the same at the bottom. And after that, we can fill the inside part of the eyes because there is a small shadow at the corner. And then moving on to the other lines of the eyes, just make sure that you make a new file so it's easier for you to adjust later. And you can always make a right click and use the warp tool to adjust the angle. And after the shadow under the eye, we can make the eyebrow. So the longer the lines, again, the strength of the smudge tools will be higher. And then for the small hair of the eyebrow, make sure that the strength is lower and the size of the brush is smaller because it's really pointy and thin. And when you finish this part, and if you think it's a little soft, you can always double the layers to make it bold. And then later, if you need to change the color, you can go to hue saturation and put colorize on and make the lightness higher, and then change the hue into the color that you want to, as well as the saturation. So basically that's how you change the color of a black and white. So later you can adjust the color of the eyebrow, the eye detail, and so on. But you can work on with the black and white first, as long as you keep the layers, and later you can change it one by one according to your needs. And I'm gonna change the color of the eyes, the pupils part, because I made it in different layers, so it's easy for me when I need to change the color. So make sure that you always work on a different layer, so if you have to adjust something, it will be easier for you when you need to edit them. And let's say if you wanna make a different color for the small pupils inside the eye, you can just use the rounded rectangular tool and then just selected the rounded area that you need to and change the color with the hue saturation again. And then for the more specific part, for example the outer line of the eye, you can just use a polygonal lasso tool or a pen and just select that part and then change the color into the color that you need to again. And then after you finish the whole eye part, like the eyebrow and everything, you can always merge the layers. You can copy that several layer that you make, and then later you're gonna just transfer it into the other side, into the left side, and you just have to mirror all those layers, and then later you can adjust it and make sure that it's fitted well into the picture. And sometimes you just have to do it one by one per layer because the eyes is not completely the same, though it's a front look, but you need to change some parts, so you have to move, for example, the rounded part and then the eyelids and then the shadow. So you just have to make sure that all the layers are there. And moving on, we're gonna use the brush again. Right now, we're gonna make it bigger as the size, but always with a softer color, with a lower opacity. And then use the smudge tools again. So basically, just try to find the shading area on the face. And now I'm starting with the nose area. And then try to get the whole shading part to make it more detailed. And then if it's quite the same between left and right, you basically only need to copy to the other side. And make sure when you make small details, you have to make the brushes smaller. And then use the strength just as what you need to. For example, if the lines is not too long, then make sure the strength is not too high as well. So basically, you just have to play along with the sizes of the brush and the strength and the opacity. So after you finish with the details of nose shading, you can later move on to the lips. And as usual, make a new layer and you can rename it lips, for example. Then I'll be using pen tools and make sure it's pat. And I will make the upper lip first. Try to follow the angle, the shape, silhouette of the upper lips. And then later we're gonna color the lips with the soft brushes. So always use a lower opacity so the color of the lips is not too bold. And try to color the brush from the outer part and then find the darker area first to color. So here I'm starting from the middle part. And then you can always use a bigger size of the brush because you already selected the area. You can color it from the outer anyway. Because it is quite rounded, so normally the center part is a little shiny and brighter in the middle part. So basically we color the outer part much darker than the inner part. And to make the edge not too striking, not too sharp, we have to use the smudge tools again to soften up. And once in a while, it's good to turn off the real photograph layer just to see how it looks like now. And if you think you made a mistake, it's always good to zoom out and zoom in again and check that if there's anything to be fixed up, if anything to be changed or delayed. So it's good to always check it once in a while. Then you can continue to make a new layer for the bottom lips. And it's the same way on how to do it. You just have to use the pen tool again and color it and using the brush from the outer part. So basically it's the same steps just like before. And then if you think you have to change the angle, you can always use rock tools, which is from the right click. And you can adjust to make the lips more symmetrical or more in line with the picture. So after finishing with the lips, you can always continue with the neck or the jaw area. So basically continue with the shading. It's the same way on how to do it. You just find the darker part of the shading area on the face or the neck. Always use the smudge tools to soften up all the harsh edges. And if it's way too bold and if it cannot be done using just the smudge tools, you can always erase a little bit using the soft eraser. And after finishing with the neck area, we can zoom into the ear part. So I'm gonna start with the left and then just like the eyes, I'm gonna copy into the other side. So using small brushes and find the area that I need to brush and then using the smudge tools again. Adjust the size of the smudge tools, adjust the strength, and try to cover the whole details of the ear. And after that, I'm just gonna make a copy or a double layer and then put it on the other side, and using the warp tools, make a right click, use the warp tools to adjust the angle and make sure it's fitted the picture well. And one of the last part to cover is the hairlines. This is gonna be the most tiring part because you have to do the lines one by one according to the shape or the silhouette of the hair. So thankfully there is not much of hair that I have to do with this picture. So as usual, we're gonna use the brush again. So I'm gonna brush some part like this one. And after that, I'm gonna use the smudge tools with a higher strength. So it's easy for me to moving all the lines, and I'm gonna try to mimic the hairlines using the smudge. And I'm just gonna play along with the strength and the size of the brush. So basically, follow the picture, follow the angle, and then if you finish some part, you can basically just copy to the other part and just moving the angle, following the picture. And you can always adjust the angle. For example, if it's supposed to be like more rounded, or it's supposed to be slightly to the left or to the right, you can always use the warp tools. So basically the warp tools will be really helpful for us to change all the silhouette, the angle, just to make it exactly like the photograph. So you don't really have to do all the hairlines one by one, but you just have to copy and change the angle. And just like with the eyeball or the ear, for example, the forehead lines on the left I already finished, so I just have to copy to the right and change again with the warp tools. So you just copying from the other side, and no need to make it from the beginning. And now I'm gonna start to compile all the face shading details because I think it's too soft, so I'm gonna copy them and see how bold I wanna be like for the face shading, and I can merge it into one layer, and then I can change the color with the colorize and change into the skin's color. So if you change it one by one, it will take time. So I merge all the skin shading together, or at least into two parts. So that way it will be much faster to change the color. So I'm gonna categorize, like for example, the hair will be one layer, the face detail will be one layer, and the lips will be one layer as well. So just merge according to the category. And then to change the black and white color, again, you have to use colorize. Also put the lightness higher, and then you can start to change the color using the hue. So now we're going to start to change all the colors one by one. And as for the skin's color, if you think it's a little too pale, if it's still too bright or white on some part, like say on the forehead or on the cheekbones, you can always add another layer and then use the skin's color, not the black and white again. You can fill it with a softer and lower opacity, and you can fill and brush it with the skin color that you are using right now. And for now, I'm gonna change the lips color, and you can always double the layer if you think it's still too light. So I double the layer, make it more bold, and then I see what color will be suitable for her. It doesn't have to be the same exactly like the picture. So you can take your time to change which color that you want to go for the illustration. And after that, I will start to merge the hairlines all together to make it easier when I need to change the color. So I make sure that I get the right thickness or boldness, because maybe it was too light, so I can just double the layer and make it bold enough. And again, colorize and change the color with the hue. And then I copy it again, but this time I change the layer character. So I use color dodge and it makes a different tone. And I change the hue saturation again so you can play along with this one. So after you think you get the right color, and you can start to finish the face detail by adding more skin tones, just like what I said before. And you can always use a background color or make a frame for this picture. But basically this is how you do a tracing photograph using Adobe Photoshop. And you are always welcome to add any accessories, or for example if she has earrings or any detail, to make it more appealing if you want to.